What's up, everybody, and happy Thursday to everyone except for Keith Mitchell, who was +4 through 4 holes. Looks like he might have a slight arm injury. Worried about my out right there, but not worried about who we have on the show. We have a great show for you lined up today. By the way, happy birthday to Japan in the chat. The chat is way ahead of me. They've already wished him a happy birthday at least 20 or 30 times here from different people, but happy birthday to Japan, and everybody in the chat, hit the like button. Let's take a look and see what we did yesterday on the recap screen. Now, my pick from yesterday is pending. That's why you don't see it on here. We also had some futures that we gave out yesterday, so if you didn't catch that, go back in your feed and watch that show, because we have some NBA futures in particular, but two for two, or I should say 2 and 2. Not great, not terrible. We'll obviously try to do better than 500 today, and who do we have to do that with? Well, we bring in the stars of the show. We've got buckets. We've got Propstarz because the NBA is back. And of course, we have the maestro as well. Proppy, I got to start with you before we get into some soccer fun. I mean, what were you even doing the last week? Like, I mean, you of all people, when the NBA is on this type of break, because it's been like, what, 6 days, 6 full days. What did you do? Like, what does Proppy do when he doesn't have props to give out?
It was a tough couple of days. Larry knows full well. We caught up yesterday. I just didn't know what to do with myself. Not having the NBA, got to kind of dive into the futures market, but I am so glad that we are back. I love today's slate. We've got 12 games. I've already got 7 picks up on the website. My best bets article will be out soon, Sia, and we're going to make up for lost time.
I mean, only 7? I mean, if that's all you got, that's all you got. I mean, it's fine, I guess. Well, let's transition to you. By the way, Larry, I know you were itching for NBA to get back. Now, you have, correct me if I'm wrong, an NBA pick plus a college basketball one today?
Yeah, I've got 2 for the show, but I also like the Phoenix Suns, if I can just throw them in. They have the toughest schedule in the second half of the season, so I don't like them to go over their win total, but I do think they're a very nice play to win the Western Conference at plus 850. When that big three is healthy, they have been the best offense in basketball, and 14-4 down the stretch. It's going to be a great start, starting with the Mavericks tonight, but I just love this Suns team if those 3 guys can stay healthy.
Yeah, it's so interesting in the West because there's a lot of really good teams. I mean, even when you go down the board to like the Pelicans, obviously we know about Oklahoma City and Denver and some of those other teams. Man, the West is totally loaded. Can I ask something before we get to buckets and anytime goal scorer props? Proppy, I want to give this one to you because I'm kind of stuck on this Celtics thing. I mentioned it on the show yesterday. The Celtics to win the East, depending on where you look, it's around plus 110, plus 100, maybe plus 120 if you can find that. I don't really see a lot of suitors in the East to challenge them, even if they pick up maybe an injury here, maybe an injury there, as long as they're not like devastating injuries or anything. But 6 games up on the Cavs. I mean, I expect the Cavs to regress maybe a little bit. Either way, it's enough of a cushion to obviously be the number 1 seed, but I don't see people challenging them in the playoffs. Am I wrong to take that bet right now?
No, see, I don't mind that whatsoever. I think this Boston Celtics team, 1 through 5, as good as any team in the NBA. The only team really to me that can challenge Boston in the playoffs for the Eastern Conference is frankly the Knicks. And that's a big if. That's if the Knicks get healthy, get Mitchell Robinson back, Julius Randle. So, yeah, I really see the Knicks being really the only viable team that could potentially knock Boston off. But, yeah, Boston 1 through 5, they are a well-oiled machine. It's going to be really hard to upset them in the playoffs.
Yeah, totally agree. I haven't actually placed that bet. I think I'm going to do it right after the show. Something I kind of recommended yesterday. I recommended it on HQ a few days ago. I think I'm going to go ahead and lock that in. Speaking of locked in, buckets looks, correct me if I'm wrong, boys, Alex and Maestro, does he not look completely locked in? I think he is just so focused on Europa League anytime goal scorer props. Let's talk about that a little bit. First of all, Buckets, how you doing today? And we've got a board here for anytime goal scorer props, and I'd like you to address it.
Sia, I am doing well, but I am locked in and focused, and all I care about is seeing that board. What do we got here today?
There we go. What do we got?
Right. Well, first of all, I want to shout out Jake the Snake because I do not send him anytime goal scorers to pick. This is Snake going through the Europa League slate and finding incredible value for all of us here. We got Juninho playing for Karabag, of course, the Azerbaijani side. Mauro Icardi at plus 160 is a silly line, frankly. My goodness. He should never be lower than minus 110. That is crazy to see him at plus 160. Romelu Lukaku. Of course, if you think Roma's going to score 2+ against Feyenoord, usually one of those is going to be from Lukaku. And Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, I'd be very careful betting on any Marseille player to do anything right now. Maybe the new manager bump will help, but out of all four of those, my favorite by far is going to be Mauro Icardi. I'm keep going back to him, but this guy for Galatasaray has been unreal, and that is a match in which Galatasaray could see 2 or 3 goals at plus 160. That is a must bet for me, Sia.
Can I ask you, and I missed this when you said it, is it Romelu Lukaku?
Romelu Lukaku, yeah.
And what did you say about him in terms of like whether that's a good number or not?
So I actually did an article for SportsLine that's up on the site right now in which I have 2 picks for that individual matchup, not based around scoring props, but I do think that Roma will score 2 in this match. And if they get 2 goals, it would be very unlikely if one of them did not come from Romelu Lukaku.
You see what I did, everybody? I pretended not to be listening just so that Buckets could rep out his SportsLine article. That is how it's done. By the way, Romelu Lukaku has got to be the coolest name of all time. So I don't care what anybody says. Lukaku is going to be an anytime goal scorer. That game is today, right? We can count on that today? Cashing?
Yes, you can count on that today. And we'll go ahead and clip this now so you can tweet this out as your first ATGS winner there, Sia.
Lukaku is scoring a goal. Frankly, he's probably scoring 2 goals. Whatever that prop is, it's probably like plus 800 or something. Plus 140 to score a goal, Lukaku. Lock it in, everybody. Absolutely love it. All right, if you want to make that bet, or really any soccer bet, or an NBA bet, NCAA bet, any bet, really, new BetMGM customers can sign up today and get $150 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $5 and you'll receive $150 instantly in bonus bets, regardless of your wager's outcome, with bonus code EDGE150. That's EDGE150. All right, well, I mentioned it, and Proppy mentioned it. We got a lot of props up on SportsLine. Hopefully you're a member. We'll give you that promo code in just a little bit. But we got to get to some NBA. We got to get to maybe another golf play. But before we do that, one quick message from our partners.
The madness doesn't just happen.
Y'all get ready!
And although it's marked on our calendars each year, it's built by moments of mayhem before.
And the crowd goes crazy!
And it begins to bubble long before it bursts. Sure, madness and March may go hand in hand, but it starts right here.
Buckets. Daniela Castro says, any thoughts on both teams to score plus over 2.5 in the AC Milan and Rennes match?
Ooh, be very careful about that AC Milan match because this is a 2-leg aggregate type of matchup. AC Milan is already up 3-0 in scoring, so they could lose this match 2-0 and they will still qualify and advance to the next round. So AC Milan is going to rotate some of their starters and probably play much more defensively than we're used to seeing them play. I've actually got that one ending 1-1 or 1-0, so I'd be very careful on that one.
Very interesting. Love the analysis. Was that Joey Bosa as his profile pick on YouTube? Can I just say, I'm going to say it one more time. Actually, I'll probably say it going into next season too. If Dre Greenlaw doesn't get injured in that freak injury, the San Francisco 49ers are your Super Bowl champions. Don't at me. Actually, at me. I like the interaction. All right. Speaking of interaction, Proppy, you have a prop here on DeMar DeRozan, and I'm not going to get into the prop. I'm going to let you get into the prop, but I just want everybody, if you haven't already, if you want to get yourself like kind of in a good mood, go to YouTube, wherever you find your clips, and type in DeMar DeRozan, Will Ferrell skit on Saturday Night Live with, of course, who was it? Drake. It's really, really, really funny. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Speaking of fading DeMar, Proppy, talk to us about your prop.
Yeah, we are going to fade DeMar today. See, I'm going under 23.5 points. I would shop around. There's some 22.5s in the market. Obviously, we're looking for the 23.5, but this is just a tough matchup for DeMar facing that Boston Celtics team that Sia and I discussed earlier. Defensively, Boston as good as any team in the NBA, specifically when it comes to limiting opposing backcourts and small forwards. Just excellent when we're looking at whether it be Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Derek White, just so much defensive versatility. This is also a big number for DeMar DeRozan, who's averaging just 22.7 points per game. Also, both these teams play at a snail's pace. Boston playing at the slowest pace in the NBA. Chicago playing at the slowest pace in the NBA. Boston also playing very slow as well. Then we have the Celtics as an 8-point favorite, so there's some blowout potential here, which could potentially reduce DeMar DeRozan's minutes. So I just think there's a lot of ways that DeMar stays under this number. So I am going to fade the All-Star here under 23.5 points. And remember, 7 picks up on the site already. My best bets article will be out this morning, and I will have some additional NBA picks that will be up on the site within the next few hours as well.
And if for some reason you've been lost over the last 3 years and you're not a member of SportsLine, well, I've got the deal for you. It's been our deal for quite some time, but it's not going to last forever, folks. If you go to sportsline.com/join, you can get 60% off our annual plan with promo code winners. Again, that's 60% off our annual plan with promo code winners. You get all of Proppy's picks, you get all of Maestro's picks, all of Bucket's picks, all of Mike McClure's picks, you name it, all of my picks, as soon as, unless it's like a obscure golf pick, which may not be on the site, but and it'll be on this show, by the way, but you get all of that right when it comes out. And that's really important because a lot of times they'll put these lines out or they'll post these plays and the line shifts by the time the early edge is on. Sometimes that doesn't happen, so it's totally okay, but a lot of times it does happen. So you want to get those picks as soon as they're released on SportsLine. I really can't stress that enough. SportsLine members know that already because they'll get the pick and they'll come on the show and the line has shifted a little bit. But either way, by the way, somebody had a question in the chat. Oh, it was Big Cheesy. Proppy, I know you don't really mess with sides too much, but any take, just because Big Cheesy brought it up, on the Celtics minus 8.5?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Celtics here. Also, I will mention the Celtics have had a lot of trouble covering these numbers. I think ATS, one of the worst teams in the league, despite having, an excellent record and being the best team in the NBA. So I'd lean to the Celtics covering, but I would also caution with these larger numbers, and Boston, they have had trouble covering as when they're close to double-digit favorites.
Yeah, Maestro, before I give out my golf pick, any thoughts on the Celtics minus 8.5 since it was brought up in the chat?
Yeah, it's a little steep given that they haven't covered so much. 25 and 27 against the number with some pushes. They have the highest power rating. So, yeah, I'm not going to lay that.
David Talk says, Proppy posted props 3 days ago. Get SportsLine. Love that from David Talk. Thanks for mentioning that. All right, let's get to my golf pick. Now, everybody knows one of my golf picks just kicked off about 16 minutes ago. Actually, not about, exactly 16 minutes ago. It was Victor Perez over Ben Siegel and Alexander Bjork. And so we'll see how that one goes. And obviously, I had to give that one out yesterday because it actually occurred 2 minutes before the early edge started. Well, this one occurs in a couple of hours. We've got Steven Yeager here. He's a guy I really wanted to target. And I remember in the early wedge chat when I was giving out first round leaders, somebody asked about Steven Yeager. Hey, how come he's not one of your first round leaders? Well, the reason was because Steven Yeager was going off in the afternoon and I wanted to take morning guys. By the way, one of those morning guys, like I said, was Keith Mitchell. I led the show with that because he's one of my outrights. Fortunately, I don't have him in matchups or finishing positions or anything like that. But he's one of my outrights and he is doing very, very poorly. But some of the other first round leaders certainly in play. But I like Steven Yeager in the afternoon over Alex Smalley. This is a big number from a juice standpoint, minus 142, but I think it's justified because I really think Steven Yeager has a chance to win this entire tournament, and I think it starts in round one. He's really no stranger to being good in the first and second round, for that matter, and making the cut and just kind of trudging on through. Like, think in this field, when you have the Alex Smalleys of the world and you have really very little at the top, I think Steven Yeager is truly live to win this tournament. Alex Smalley's game has not been very good. He's a very talented golfer, and honestly, he could have some success on this course, but the form has really not been good. And when you look at course history, Smalley has some decent course history, but Steven Yeager's course history is much better. Top 20 both times the Mexico Open has been played here. So I think Steven Yeager, even though he had some trouble at Pebble Beach, and even though he has some trouble with the putter, you can say the same about Alex Smalley. And I like the course history way better. I like the talent way better with Steven Yeager. So we're paying a lot of juice. Don't forget, the Victor Perez play was plus money. It was plus 110, I believe, when I gave it out. So I feel a little okay giving out a minus 142 in a head-to-head matchup here. So let's go 2-0 in golf. One this afternoon, one already kicked off. And we got to get right back to buckets and right back to some NBA and college basketball. But before we do that, let's hear just one more message from our partners.
Out there are two colossal beings, both forces of nature in their own regard. But in here, as soon as the chute bursts open, the duality of man and beast begins to fade. This is PBR on CBS Sports Network.
Buckets, before we get to a couple of soccer picks, Chris Kish says, see, I like Thompson. You're referring to Davis Thompson. I do prefer first and last names when you're asking about players, though, because there's a lot of Thompsons, not necessarily in this tournament. It's just easier from a recall standpoint because there's like Michael Thompson, for example, who again is not playing, but I assume that's Davis Thompson over Patton Kizzire and Matty Schmidt at +1. I do like that. Davis Thompson, very popular play this week. He should be very good. I would look out for Matty Schmidt, and Patton Kizzire does flash in first rounds sometimes, but because it's +125, I like that. It wouldn't be an official play for me, but it would certainly be a lean. Bitsy says Jaeger against Griot in a 2-ball. I could go either way on that one. It's a lean for me. I have the tournament play, Jaeger over Griot as a tournament play in round 1. I don't think there's a huge edge there. And then we have Jaeger over Dietrich -115. That's a round 1 matchup. To be honest with you, I know some books are offering that. I'd probably stay away from that one. I think over 4 rounds, I think I like Jaeger over Dietrich. In 1 round, the way this tournament has already started, I think Dietrich could be okay. So I think I would, unfortunately, no LaFace, I think I would stay away from that one. All right, Buckets. You gave us the anytime goal scorer. I gave out an anytime goal scorer, an absolute lock, obviously. But you've got 2 plays here on the pitch. Let's hear about them.
2 plays for us looking at Europa and Europa Conference League. And when you have these 2-leg matchups like this, it is really, really important that we look at home field advantage and who is up or who is down on aggregate scoring. The first game I'm looking at is the match between Eintracht Frankfurt taking on Union Saint-Gilloise in a matchup in which they are tied 2-2 in aggregate scoring, and everybody on the planet thought Frankfurt was going to blow them out of the water when they went up 2-0 in the first 10 minutes of the opening leg, only to watch Saint-Gilloise bounce back and draw that 2-2. But now you've got to play at Deutsche State Bank Park, and if you are Union Saint-Gilloise, you do not stand a chance against this Frankfurt side. I have Frankfurt over 1.5 team total at -110, and I would not be shocked if that hit in the first half. And if you want to sprinkle the first half team total, that is +390. Frankfurt is devastating at home. Their ultras are absolutely terrifying, and this is a tough place to play. Expect a big game for the Bundesliga side. Then for our second match, we're looking at the matchup between Polish side Legia Wrocław taking on Molde FK. And again, I'm going with the home team. I'm going with the team total. Legia Wrocław over 1.5 team total at -110. They are down 2-3 in aggregate scoring, bringing back the second leg to home. This is the match in which you have to show up and you have to start as soon as that first whistle blows. Molde is coming off of a long break. They're still not quite up to par of where they need to be. And I think that Legia at home is going to be too much for them. I don't care if they win, but 1.5 team total again at -110 is beautiful odds for something that I would have played all the way up to -140, -145 even.
David Talk says, Buckets, I love the pick. And by the way, I'm really glad I was paying attention this time because I definitely would have pronounced that Legia instead of Legia. So, all right, I'm dialed in. By the way, go ahead, Buckets.
I will just say, when you were pronouncing soccer or football clubs like this, as long as you act like you know what you're doing and you say it with confidence, that's all. I'm probably saying that wrong too, but people don't question it because I'm so, Legia just sounds good.
Oh, it's perfect, actually. Yeah, anything with confidence is going to sound correct. By the way, speaking of delivering with confidence, I mean, what was it? Lukaku, whatever it was. Yeah, so I like that one, but I'll say this. I like Legia team total over 1.5 too. I think they're going to score 3 goals. If there's a prop bet for that, I'm locked in on that one too. Legia, 3 goals.
I double checked. If you want to get your Romelu Lukaku to score 2 goals, that is +850 right now. So you're spot on there. And Legia Wrocław to score 3 goals is +210. So worth considering.
And if you parlay those 2, let's have some fun, folks. All right, speaking of fun, let's go. I hope everybody senses the sarcasm there. Do not do that, but do it. Do it today because it's going to hit. All right, Maestro, we're going to college hoops and we're going to the NBA. You've got a prop in the NBA and you've got a play in the Pac-12. You've got the floor, my friend.
All right, starting in the NBA with Brandon Miller. He and Miles Bridges are basically taking all the shots right now for the Hornets without LaMelo Ball. And they're playing a Utah team that is terrible defending the three-point line, 3rd worst in the NBA. But over the last 3 games, giving up 47% from beyond the arc. And Brandon Miller has made at least 3 threes in 7 of his last 10 games. Now, he did go 0 for 7 against the Jazz about a month ago, but I think he'll get a nice bounce back today. And he's just taken so many threes. They don't have any other options. Should be a high-scoring game. I'll take Brandon Miller over 2.5 trays, -140. I'm not going higher than -150, -155 in that neighborhood. And then in college basketball, 2 coaches that probably should be fired, but only one of them is going to be fired, and that's Washington's Mike Hopkins. The Huskies are the better team here. but they just had their bubble burst. They lost at home to Cal in a game they had no business losing. They had the ball. They had the lead with 15 seconds to go, and then your point guard dribbles the ball off his foot. They give up a wide open look and lose the game. Excuse me. Now they're going to Arizona State. Arizona State just got demolished by Arizona, but against teams that are sort of on their caliber, they have a knack for winning these close games. They actually lead the Pac-12 in turnover margin. Frankie Collins had a terrible game against Arizona. He's back home. He's going to have a good game. They've beaten Washington 3 straight times at home. I don't think we'll need the points, but let's take the points. Let's take 2.5 with the Sun Devils.
Yeah, Sun Devils, you're right. They got completely smoked by Arizona, but beating Utah at Utah, I like that. And I like examining turnover margin, especially when you're talking about a home team where a lot of those turnovers can be generated. Maybe some fouls aren't being called defensively. And then once you get the team turned over, you get some fast break points, that crowd gets behind you, and all of a sudden you can pile up some points. So I really do like that Arizona State play at plus 2.5, even though you're right, Washington probably the more talented team. Ladies and gentlemen, what a show. I mean, by the way, buckets are, I got to be like, we're going to do the recap screen in a second, but I feel a little bad because I'm looking at the chat and I think people are realizing that, I do the golf, I do first fives, I sometimes dabble in the NBA and college basketball, of course, NFL and NFL props, which I share the stage with Proppy and so many others, but I don't want to marginalize you. Are you afraid that maybe I'm going to start delving into soccer?
Let's take a step back. I sometimes see it, because you are so incredible at what you do and incredible at everything. We got to kind of pull you in a little bit. And I'll do that by completely ignoring what you just said and saying that I disagree with your soccer pick. So instead of you coming into my world, I'm once again going to enter your golf world. Steven Yeager will not win the 2-ball. Look at me learning this stuff. I personally have a very bad experience with Yeager in the past, so I just can't back Yeager to do anything now in any capacity. I would like to call you out for a showdown on that, and then maybe someday you can try challenging me on a showdown for one of my soccer plays. Okay,
here's the thing.
Yep.
Here's the thing. Because tomorrow's Friday, which Buckets, you're on the show with us, and Chip and company for Friday, Mike McClure. I am going to do some research in soccer. I'll find out before the show, at some point before the show, I'll find out what your soccer picks are. And I will challenge you to my first soccer showdown tomorrow. But as for today, Jake the Snake, let's continue this streak that I'm on. I think I'm going for 19-1 or 18-1 against Buckets.
I have it written down here. I am 24 losses, 2 wins right now.
I just got to ask, can I get in on this? Because you took 100 from me on Patrick Mahomes throwing an interception during the Super Bowl. And let me get in on this too.
I financially cannot afford to lose 200 today. So this time I have to say no. But I will let you in on another one, Larry. I'll give you a chance to get it back.
Jake, play the music. All right, let's go 25-2. And Taylor DeHart says, we got soccer Siamac. You're right, because tomorrow's going to be my first ever soccer showdown against Buckets, where I will go 26-2. This record is astounding. Is it really 24-2?
That's what I have written down. I probably have gotten frustrated some nights and maybe added an extra win to my tally to make
close
me feel
to that
better.
At least. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not gonna be on the show tomorrow, but Sia, I trust your soccer so much tonight that I want a part of that showdown tomorrow just to get even with Buckets.
All right. As long as Bucket signs off on that, we're in. I'm going to be flush with cash because Lukaku's scoring at least 2 goals today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got to show you the recap screen before we get out of here. Buckets, he got the anytime goal score stuff out there early in the show, but his official plays: Frankfurt team total over 1.5, Legia team total over 1.5. Mexico Open round 1. I've got one play pending. It's going on right now. I gave it out yesterday, but in a couple of hours, we've got Steven Yeager minus 142 over Alex Smalley. Proppy, DeMar DeRozan under 23.5 points. Don't forget to catch that YouTube clip with Drake, Will Ferrell, and DeMar DeRozan. It is good stuff. And the Maestro, Brandon Miller, over 2.5 3-pointers, and Arizona State at home, plus 2.5. Ladies and gentlemen, a very engaging show. That's mostly thanks to you in the chat. Happy birthday to Japan. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Big Cheesy. Chris Thomas. Eric David, I hope you feel better. I know you're a little under the weather. Brian Smith, everybody, thank you for being in the chat. Thank you for always hitting the like button. For the here and now, we're going to get out of here. We'll see you on Inside the Lines. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 for Big Pick Energy Friday. On behalf of Proppy, on behalf of the Maestro, on behalf of Buckets, the second best soccer cap, or I should say third best behind Martin Green and myself on the early edge. And on behalf of Jake the Snake on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s, this is the early edge. I am the counselor. We rest our case.